One of the things I loved about meeting Che Guevara was the fact that I felt I was talking to an Irishman, and he was dark-skinned. Now, I'll tell you something nobody's ever said anything about, and this is very important, because I can tell you that I met him, and I can prove I met him, because he had red in his beard in the light in Kilkee. What kind of a pose would you like?
I think he goes like something like this, doesn't he?
Okay, stay like that. Kind of pushed it open, and I always thought it was like something out of a Wild West movie. You know, where Clint Eastwood pushes the saloon doors in, and these three really interesting men walked in, and I was lucky enough to be politically aware enough to understand who they were. So I asked them all what they'd like to drink. I don't remember what the others had, but I remember Che asking me what I would recommend, and I said, well, you know, you were talking about your Irish roots, you should have an Irish whiskey. So look. I had a quick look earlier on. I was looking for my mother's presents, but I can't find it. She had beautiful writing.
You'd never know who you'd find in this book.
He has been to Prague, and
immediately before the premises.
Yeah, immediately before he came in here, he's in Prague, Czechoslovakia, but he spelled Czechoslovakia with a C-H-E. I suppose, if nothing else, it's as near as we're ever going to come to proof positive that Che Guevara was in Kilkee. He was murdered very deliberately for political purposes, so his pretty face could be put in a slab and photographed. And I decided that I would make him effing famous and spit in their face for what they did, and that's what I did. It's the actual photograph by Corda, signed by Corda. Oh, it's all sealed up. It was the real thing. I turned it from a three-dimensional photograph into a two-dimensional graphic. And I did it because I wanted the image to proliferate. A photograph will never proliferate. I gave him all this kind of curlicue Art Nouveau, because I was very influenced by Mucha, a flow to his hair as though it's lifted by an unseen breeze. It's an image based, believe it or not, on Catholic imagery. So to reproduce this and give another copy to someone, rather than have the expense of photography, which is prohibitive, I had to literally put it up against the window, put a bit of tracing paper over it, and start work. There are other little hidden things, little clues in here, that if ever anybody challenges my ownership of it, or copyright or whatever, then, you know, we can fight them off.
Did you use the Corda image as an inspiration for this one? What did you use as a reference point for that first
I found
image?
a very small photograph in Stern magazine of a demonstration in Paris.
I'm asked probably at least once a week by somebody, can I copyright their image for them? Either you have your copyright or you don't. And he has a complex set of circumstances. So, you know, we're going to have to do quite a bit of thinking as to whether indeed there's anything, I mean, we can do in a really concrete sense. Even if this were ever to be heard before a court would be influenced as well by the fact that it's not just any artwork, it has performed a particular function, a particular role.
Well, we're on our way out to meet Professor Martin Kemp, and he has written a book called From Christ to Coke, iconic images, and he's picked 11 for some reason instead of 10. And Christ is number 1, the image of Christ, the iconic image. I'm at number 6 with Corda, with the Che image.
Now this is much too narrow for it in a way. There's a do you get people writing to you saying they've seen secret codes in?
Well, I kept waiting for him to find my hidden logo for bloody years and years, and only eventually when I told a man called Michael Casey, who wrote a book called Shady Afterlife, that I had hidden my logo in it, that he went and looked for it, and there it is. If you look, that's an F, right?
Yeah.
And I've never given this away before. That's a bit of an I with a dot on it. The red and black image, the famous one, was prepared specifically for this exhibition. The title of the red and black one was Viva Che. The title of the exhibition was Viva Che. So here we have the exhibition invite, right? And I'm just going to do a quick Photoshop thing on this, where you invert it. Oops, oops, oops. Right? And voila, you have this, and that is the spark that gave me the idea for the purely black and white kind of dropout version of the image. And I sent them the artwork on overlays, photographic copies of my original, and they turned that into the red and black copies, that you see everywhere proliferated from that point on. And I never got it back, and I was never acknowledged. By the time I got over to London, that was in May, I think it was over there in August, selling posters into all the shops over there. I noticed my Che poster was everywhere, my red and black one. Hey. Could I have this? How much?
£20.
£20, okay. You may not believe it, but that is actually my design.
Yeah?
My name is Fitzpatrick, and there's an F built into it there.
I'm not an expert in valuing, but it clearly would be worth millions. The original artwork for the poster would be worth a certain amount, but the painting, which fulfills this category of being by the artist's hand, as it were, could be stratospheric.
It's more complex than that. It's very easy to say I never took money for it. What happened essentially was this. If you jump 10 years on from 1968, May 1968 to say May 1978, the image had proliferated, but not as we know it today. It wasn't a piece of street art yet. And at that point, because of the difficulties I'd had with Vetronelli and his, him claiming my copyright and him stealing Corda's copyright, but I kind of resigned myself to the fact that it was way past my control now.
For me, I'm trying to, again, use the Warhol rhetoric as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really trying to employ that. And I was interested, there's that image of Che Guevara done in different colours, red, yellow and blue.
I know the one.
Which is attributed to Warhol. But apparently that was done by the guy from his studio in Italy.
I could give you a long lecture on that one because I've learned all about it.
Yeah.
That was supposedly by Gerard Malanga, but my logo is on all 9 images. I had a hidden logo.
Okay.
That I put into all these images way back. I took my name off for the reasons of obvious death threats.
But it's in those images?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show it to you, if you have a copy somewhere. But anyway, long story cut short, the Warhol Che is now reattributed to me, and it's one of the images. I'm giving the original image and the Warhol Che image to the Guevara family, let them own it in perpetuity.
That image has contained his whole sort of artistic history. And so, in order to follow that image and follow where it's gone and where it's going to, and take that image through to a kind of conclusion, if that conclusion is taking it back to Che Guevara's family and giving it to them, if that conclusion is taking it to the art museum, to the Modern Art Museum, and donating it to them, then I think that gives him some sort of sense of closure.
Scott King's Che Guevara is blasphemous, sacrilegious, it's tasteless on every level you can think of, and yet it's stunningly beautiful to me. Right, 33. Oh my God. That's a doorbell.
So this is where it usually hangs, outside the bog, on the stairs.
Pride of place, but not inside, I hope.
It's not inside.
Mind yourself there, You don't want to let that drop,
It's a difficult one. I mean, that image is so contentious of the rights to it with Corda and everybody, and the Corda family who've had, all sorts of lawsuits, and obviously for Jim, I don't know what Jim's legal thing has been with it. But I never, as I said, I didn't think about stealing. I didn't really think I was stealing from anybody. So I never myself contemplated that it would become, that my version would take on a life of its own as it has, and that it would be in the Science Gallery, and that people would copy it for T-shirts and everything else, really. So if Jim does have problems, and it must be annoying when you've done something that's so iconic, and like he said, he's never got a penny for it.
But it's, for what it is, it's beautifully designed, but it's indefensible. Come on, Che on cigarettes, But I do kind of like this little pop-up. Now, that's making huge amounts of money for somebody. What I want with this image is closure, essentially, right? The only way I can get closure before I die, put it into safe hands, essentially. Now, people might argue the Cuban regime are not a pair of safe hands. The world changes, but what I want to do is give it to his family so they own the copyright. It will be on behalf of the Cuban people. So no matter what would happen in Cuba, the rights to that image will stay in Cuba. It's almost conceptual. It's like a piece of conceptual art, and this documentary, I feel, is part of that. It's like a concept where you do something, you take an item, which is almost a religious, iconic image, and you transform it into something else, and you do it over a period.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And that's what we're doing with this. We're transferring an image that has been used for the most crass commercial purposes into something iconic and noble again. And that's what I'm at here.